Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Kingdom of Dreams podcast, The Making of Stories. Today, my guest is director Shashi Ranjan, who directed Netflix The Roshans. I have had the pleasure of the editor of the documentary series, Geeta Singh, on the podcast, as well as one of the protagonists, who's also a producer in the Indian film cinema, Rakesh Roshan. Shashi and I talked about a lot of different things from the standpoint of direction, the creativity, the angle, and the rapport he had to build during the process as well as before production, just to kind of get to know the protagonists and people involved in the film. Without further ado, here's my conversation with Shashi Ranjan. I had the
Yes,
pleasure of speaking to Geeta, who edited The
I I
Roshans.
I I saw your interviews with Geeta
Okay,
and Rakesh ji. Yes,
yeah, yeah, they were both really great. Geeta I have talked to before as well, a few times about the Angry Young Men, and it was the first time with
yeah,
Rakesh
yeah.
Roshan. But yeah,
And
great series. I really enjoyed it. Nostalgia and just the human emotion that was in there was very genuine, and it came across authentically. And I know being a director myself, especially making documentaries, that is a testament to the director more so than anything else because they feel comfortable with you. So kudos on that, on the work that you did.
thank you so much. And I was glad to know that you're a documentary filmmaker, and this is one genre, especially in India, which really needs to do up the game because there's so many stories. But you know how I don't know whether you track Indian.
I do.
Uh, So, the film division documentaries and the Doordarshan documentaries, pathetic. And the documentary means very boring, very dull, bad visuals, and, the voiceovers and things like that. That is the basic perception of a documentary in India. So I'm glad that, as a documentary filmmaker, I have been able to create a story which is glamorous, which is informative, which which serves its purpose, but at the same time it entertains. It has emotion, it has drama, and of course, great music. So I'm
Yeah.
glad about that.
Yeah, no, and that's one thing about, so there's, just like in a narrative film there's different genres, right? Even with documentaries there are different genres. Like there is, the genre of human rights, there's a genre of social impact, there's a genre of, biography, or there's a genre of what you did. Like it has entertainment slash biographical, biography elements in there obviously, but more of like a
Mhm.
generation. So it's catered for a different audience. But at the same time, one of the things that really cool about this is because it's obviously not a social impact or human rights doc, but it just has this element which you just said, the element of entertaining people. That where which instead of sort of sitting through a bunch of interviews and going through this and that, it has a story and it has an entertainment value to it. So yeah, amazing stuff. Tell me how your journey, and I did talk to Rakesh about this as well, but from your perspective, what what was the first step in making this from your angle and the journey that you took?
So I'll just give you a little bit of a background that
Please.
I passed out from FTI Pune as an actor. I did my
Okay.
diploma in acting, and I did some 20 films, good, bad, and ugly. And then I moved on to production. I was not getting the kind of roles I wanted, struggling, and I couldn't wait for a yes every morning. And so I started dabbling into production and started directing television. So I did a lot of talk show. In fact, the first talk show ever in India was social political talk show was done by me called Shotgun Show with Shatrughan Sinha.
Okay.
And it was a huge success. Victor ran for 3 years on Star. It used to come on prime time because there was no news channel in those days. So it used to come on an entertainment channel. So that gave me, because I was politically and socially aware. And I like this genre. So I made another very, big talk show with Javed Akhtar called Guftagu with Mahesh Bhatt, Without Makeup with Mahesh Bhatt. Then I used to do a program called Making of a Legend, which I used to produce, direct, and anchor, in which I spoke to some 55, 60 living legends of Indian cinema.
Mm.
And that really, really gave me that confidence that there is a huge space in our country that we do not document our greats. There is nothing available. If you want to know something about K. Asif or a Mehboob or a Gurudat or a Raj Kapoor or a Muhammad Rafi or Lata Mangeshkar, I can go on. You don't have nothing. It's such a tragedy that if a student of cinema or even a film buff wants to know, there is nothing besides their work, whether it's a song or a film or a whatever. There are books, yes, but nobody reads books these days. So this was always in my mind that I think this space should be filled. And one day I was sitting with Rakesh in his farmhouse, and he told me that he was hurt that one music company didn't put his father's songs and his name in a correction. And I told him, I said, well, it is a great loss to them, but I think it didn't stop there. And I told him, I was just thinking. And I used to sing a lot of Roshan Saab songs right from my childhood. So, I was fond of music, and then I realized that it happens to be Rakesh Roshan's father. So, so I said, why don't we make a documentary on this? And he jumped on the idea, and he said, I think it's a good idea. Though he didn't have any inkling that how a documentary works, because he's basically a movie filmmaker, and documentary filmmaking is a different ball game. It's a different animal altogether. So
Hmm.
he had his apprehension ki beginning kya hoti hai, entry kaise hogi, and all that. But yeah, as and then he suggested also that why can't we all three be a part of it? And I realized that yeah, it's a good suggestion because it completes the arc that we start with the father and we come to the you know the Ritik Roshan because these generations are there and yeah, it make an interesting arc. And I started research. But the important part, Java, is in this documentary is that anybody or everybody who's seen it finds it very emotional and very transparent and honest. My effort was that their work is in public domain. You know what films they have made, you know how good or how bad they are. But who are these people? That was the question in my mind. And as I started talking to them, the family, we created a kind of a rapport. We came emotionally very close to each other. And that's why they could be naked in front of me with everything. So that connect, I think, reached to the audience. And I'm very glad about that.
Yeah, no, it certainly did. And the raw emotion, and for me personally, one of the things, and because you've seen the other two episodes that hit me home was that element of, with Rajesh Roshan where he talks about that he's getting all this work, why do I need to network, right? And then eventually everybody has their time and everybody's time goes away. That's just the way the world works.
Yeah,
And that part, I think so many people can relate to, even if they're not in the film industry, because you
true,
feel that you're relevant, right?
true.
And it takes a flash to become irrelevant. And that was really, really touching. And I'm so glad that you tapped onto that.
Jawad, life to the film is of course is because they are from film, so it's a backdrop.
Yeah.
This is a journey of any common person because there are struggles, but how do you deal with them? Your personal tragedies, your highs and lows. So that's why besides film people, rest of the people also could connect with the story because it's aspirational at times. It inspires you, and it feels human. It doesn't feel like that. Oh, somebody, a film star, talking about things. So yeah,
And that's one of the things that whether it's in Hollywood, whether it's in a cricket team from any part of the world, whether it's Bollywood, every one of the people, even if they're like celebrities, like to the toppest level, they crave to be like ordinary people. Like for example,
True.
I was talking to John Schwartzman. He's a cinematographer on films like Armageddon, The Rock, you know, the popular movies. And we were talking, and we he told me that how he's so glad that nobody knows him because he's not an actor. Because actors crave to even go to the gas station and fill up their car with the gas just because they want to feel normal, right? Like just ordinary. And this is what this film does. It just complete. I mean, the Roshan family is very sort of humble from what I saw in the series, especially Ritik and Rakesh. I mean, Rajesh, Roshan's career, I haven't really followed that much, but yeah, it really encapsulate that. And for me, one of the curious questions that I have is that and there's always challenges in any project, whether it's in film or life. What was one element, I'm sure there were many, where you may have felt this is going, this is not necessarily, you know, why did I take this on? Like, was there any moment where, not from a standpoint of dealing with the Roshans or anything, just in general because of the beast of the project it was?
Jawad, it's my labor of love. So since I'm fascinated by this genre, and I grew in this business for 35 years now. So yeah, so I was not looking at it that at a from point of view that let me create a story of celebrities or of a big family. I find at the moment I started being close to them, I realized the humanness and the human drama in them. And I forgot that he happens to be a director or a, some father of a very big film star. And same with Ritik Roshan. My rapport with him, my only worry, if I can
Yeah.
say, was this that because I was a great admirer of Roshan Sahab and he is not alive, and to create his episode, I was always very, very cautious that I shouldn't be doing something which is lightweight.
Mm.
I will not be able to forgive myself if I make something which is doesn't match up to his talent. And people say, "What a document you created after 50 years of his death," and look at this. Uh, Maza nahi aaya. That was my problem. So the moment I saw the first cut of the first episode, and then I said, "Bingo! This will move people. This has everything. It has music. This has great anecdotes. It has everything." And then I continued. And of course, another big challenge, technically, since you're a maker, was that there's so much of footage. What do I do? And everybody is a high heavyweight, right from Shahrukh to Javed Sahab to Asha ji, and everybody has spoken so much out from the heart that I wanted to keep this also, I wanted to keep that also, and suddenly I realized, shit, I can have an episode of 2.5 hours each if I, get so indulgent into all this. So yeah, cutting those areas was a difficult job. But as Raj Kapoor once said, that when you make a movie, you should fall in love with the like a girlfriend. You should treat the movie, but when you come to the editing, you should be a butcher. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
that's where Geeta did a phenomenal job along with yourself, you know,
Yes,
just to
Geeta did a phenomenal job, and
concise it.
yeah, when we kind of we were on a almost in the same wavelength. Of course, we had our share of disagreement, which is absolutely important in a
Yes.
documentary like this. That,
Yes.
but yeah, overall we were in sync. And
I,
another advantage which I had, Jawad, was that
mhm.
I purposely wanted to interview everybody myself. I did the research, I did the interviews myself because while I was interviewing them, I was taking them according to my script in my mind. And I exactly knew what, when he said this, what should be the will be the answer of A, B, C, D, E. So that while I was interviewing them, there was an edit going in my head and also the script moving in my head. Oh my God, what a lovely sentence. And how will I have a counter for this or a, you know, validation for this? So yeah, it was an interesting journey of 2 years. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
You mentioned the first episode, uh, how it was challenging to me, and it's probably because I knew Rakesh's work, knew Rajesh's work and Hrithik's work. That was the most important episode for me too, because I learned something that I did not know, and then just it had this. I don't even know how to explain. It had this depth to it, and not saying that the others did not, but there was just something special about that, and I think that
Exactly.
and that's because one of the many reasons is because what you just said, that your caution towards it. Not that you didn't care about the other ones, but there was just this extra care that went into it, and you feel it. You actually see it, and you feel it.
Here there is a person who nobody knows how he looks like. Okay. 99% people didn't know how he looked. And you want to bring his story and you want people to connect to his old music and what kind of a human being he was. So that was challenging. So I had to recreate. The recreation at one time, certain people said, "Oh, Shashi, why recreation?" Uh, I said, "No, I need to give a visual to my emotion.
Yeah.
When the person is, I need to show people that atmosphere, that feel of that era, and I think people liked it immensely.
Yeah, I was telling this to Geeta as well that and this is just a personal thing. I'm not a fan of recreations, and when that happened, I was a little bit taken out of it. But after a while, I was like back into it really, really quickly. And it did give a face to that because if I was to go back and not that I'm planning on, but if I was to go back and let's say download the episode and edit those recreations out and put those photos in, it wouldn't have that same impact, right? Because it's just the visual does give you that feel. Now, if you were doing recreation of a murder scene, like of a crime documentary, yeah, that really takes me out completely because I know for a fact that it's not real. But there were just certain elements in the recreation that you did that felt real. After I got pulled out, then I came back and it spoke to me in a very powerful way.
No, even Geeta was in the beginning was very apprehensive.
Yeah.
She said, "Oh my God, how will it look?" I said, don't worry, it will work, it will work. Just let's edit it properly, and we'll get there. Don't worry." And the first reaction of the people who saw, yeah, oh my God, especially that river scene, they really thought it's a real footage. So it worked, and people started. And now I get so many calls, and people say, "Wow, that scene where he's coming in a car, and that sequence of Kedar Sharma telling him that I will not change him was very very moving, and people really loved that."
Yeah, I think when we talk about recreation in that series, the scene that comes to my mind is that car scene and the balcony. That to me was the most effective recreation scene. It just worked at so many levels. Um,
Yeah.
when you were speaking to anybody, Ritik or Rajesh or Rakesh, there's always emotional moments when you interview people, right? And in this one, there were many. There were many. If you can recall one moment that really, I mean, you've known the Roshan family for a while. There was something that you learned and that really hit you hard, and you began to obviously become emotional about it. Is there something specific that one
Well, many
example?
times it happened.
I'm sure
Many times,
one specific
many
one
times.
or few.
See, I'm looking at them. We're having a conversation, and what you see is a eventually result of a maybe two sentences after 20 minutes of an interview. Okay, but in 20 minutes, I'm gradually going towards a particular emotion, a particular information,
Mm-hmm.
and the moment we enter, because until unless I am not in it, the other person will not be in it. So
Right.
sometimes we used to reach a point when they're crying and I'm crying, and we used to stop the camera and they say, "Okay, let's stop crying and then we'll start." So there used to be a 5 minute pause, and then we will start again. All it happened in all the, and you've seen. That's why those emotional moments, wherever they come, they have a great impact because it's real. It's absolutely real. And yeah, so I think this is it's a vibration which happened between them and me, that they could see. Like for example, Ritik, when he was being interviewed, so generally I said, the main camera, you look into the lens and talk, and I used to be on the side.
Mm.
So 4 5 minutes he spoke, and then he said, Shashi, I'm not getting it. I go, means what? He says, no, can you please look into my eyes and talk? Because I'm having the emotion, but I'm not getting in. So I need to look into your eyes. Exactly the same thing Shah Rukh Khan said. He says, I want to get what you're looking, what your eyes are asking me.
Yep.
So that connect was important.
Yeah, 100%. It's when you're making a documentary that in some cases there are like scenarios where you see some docs where people are looking at the camera and but when it speaks comes to an emotional part, like it just the eyes do the trick. Like it's just
Yeah,
we don't
eyes do
we
the trick.
we undervalue the power of eyes, like how
Absolutely.
powerfully we communicate through eyes. It's
Yes,
just
yes.
I want to go back to your career. You talked about that you tried acting and it didn't materialize, and that's okay because we all have our own journeys. If you and I'm sure there are many times in life where you felt like why is this happening? Why is this not working? Can you think of a story or two where everything you felt was like done and dusted, like nothing was happening, and then out of nowhere something came up and took you to a different, not different path, but somewhere better, essentially.
Jawad, I came to Bombay from a very small town in Haryana. My father
Okay.
was an educationist. He was a writer, Urdu or Farsi में लिखते थे.
Mm-hmm.
And so I inherited एहसास of जुबान. आप पाकिस्तानी हैं, शायद आप समझेंगे.
Yep, बिल्कुल.
और वो जो था मेरे उसमें था, शख्सियत में आया, मेरी पर्सनैलिटी में आया. So when I came here, I it's basically a lot of fate has to do with. So I was a promising actor. I did get for certain films. Those films didn't do well. Then I didn't get. So I'm always been intellectually very impatient. Okay. So I have been doing many things. I was the first one to start getting to realizing the potential of television, got into television, and created this, non-fiction talk shows, 8 or 10 big talk shows in the country. I did, and then I started Indian Television Academy. It's the only umbrella body in the country, where the entire television is brought by a award function called Indian IT Awards. It's in the 24th year now. Next year is going to be our silver jubilee. I came out with a magazine called Great, which was the only glossy television magazine, as good as Filmfare or a Stardust. And I ran it for 14 years till the time COVID came. I also had ITS School of Performing Art, where we used to teach acting, singing, dancing, and choreography by Farah Khan. So I and made movies. I Since I was from Haryana, I produced the first language film, Haryanvi language film there, acted in that. Then I made 6 other films. So I've been doing various things. Whatever excites me, I do. And I'm still intellectually very impatient. I want to do so many things. So there is nothing in my life which is done and dusted. I feel like still get very excited about so many things. Maybe I
That's
write a book. I don't know.
that's good. That's good. Tell me about uh, I've been to India. I spent 3 weeks in India, kind of most, not all, obviously everywhere, but a lot of different cities. Haryana, I didn't visit. Tell me about Haryana. What is it like? And
So
sort of,
Haryana is like Lahore. So
okay,
it used to be a part of Punjab. So yeah, so it is a dialect, but the culture and everything is exactly what Lahore is. similar. So
But is it the transition from Haryana to Mumbai? That must have been interesting for you, right?
very interesting because I I did my uh, bachelor's BA degree, and that too, matlab, I was taught English, but I couldn't speak English because nobody used to speak English in the college. The
Hmm.
teacher used to teach us, but अब हर हिंदी में बात करते थे या हिंदुस्तानी में बात करते थे. I had a great complex because when I went to the institute, everybody was from St. Xavier's and St. Mary and all the public schools, and I was the only one who couldn't speak. So I wrote to my father. I said, Papa, I don't want to live here anymore, and I want to come back because I have a lot of complexes. So he told me, he says, जिस इंडस्ट्री के अंदर तुम जाना चाहते हो उसकी जुबान हिंदुस्तानी है और तुम्हारी हिंदुस्तानी जुबान इन सबसे बेहतर है. So you stick around and learn English. So I learned English at the age of 24. I mean, speaking English, I learned at the 24. And after that, I came to Bombay, knew nobody, struggled very hard for 4 5 years. बट वो जिंदगी तुझको जिया है कोई अफसोस नहीं, जहर खुद मैंने पिया है कोई अफसोस नहीं.
Well said. Well said. Your dad, you said he does Urdu and Farsi, and like, has he written books or poetry for himself or for publication, or what was his like journey like in terms of relation to you and your relationship with him?
With my father.
Hmm.
So my father got the Sahitya Academy Award for writing a book of short stories. ये खलिश कहाँ से होती है.
Mm.
Okay, and the mahal in my house was very literary. Adib used to come and visit us. So that became a part of my life. And I was fascinated by his language skills because he was a professor in English and psychology, and he was a Urdu writer, and he could read and write Farsi. So he was very skillful. And so I used to always look up to him. And he was a very open minded man because I was the first guy from Haryana to become an actor. एंड एवरीबडी सेड एजुकेशनिस्ट का बच्चा है, कहाँ भेज रहे हैं इसको धक्के खाने के लिए, यहाँ पे आईएएस वाईएएस करेगा, ये लीडर बन सकता है बिकॉज वी हैड अ पॉलिटिकल एफिलिएशन विद सम लीडर्स देयर. फिर तो पॉलिटिक्स में आ जाएगा, एमएलए बन जाएगा, एमपी बन जाएगा. बट ही सेड कि व्हाट डू यू वांट टू डू. आई सेड पापा आई वांट टू बी एन एक्टर. So he says, if you want to be an actor, then you go to FTI. And FTI in those days was like getting into IAS or IFS, which is Indian Administrative Services. So when I joined uh, my course, there were 60,000 applicants from all over the country, and they had to take only 10 boys. So that was the kind of competition. But I got into it. And he told me very clearly that I will fund you for 1 year because I have other kids also. After that, if you become star, good luck to you. But if you come on the roads, don't blame me. I said, done deal. I will not. And that's how my journey started. And yeah, I remember him very fondly because I think all the creative juices in me is thanks to him.
For sure, for sure. Um, in the last year, three series have come out. The Romantics with Yash Chopra and his family, and then Angry Young Men with Salim Javed, and now this one, The Roshans. I'm sure that just like in any, especially in Hollywood and in India, when there's a trend and if there's people receiving the film really, really, if the film is being received by the people really, really well, then the trend kind of keeps rolling until, you completely burn it and you figure out something else. Do you think that's going to happen now with more stories to come out? And if so, are you willing to be a part of another one?
I'm very hopeful. Yeah, I hope it happens, Jawad, because I
Mm.
think it's a very any country, not only in India, any
Yes.
country must document their history.
Yes.
Look, even in our country, unfortunately, not only in cinema, we have nothing on our literary people, nothing on our great politicians, whoever. we are not in a frame of mind to create documentation for our grades. I don't know what. The only thing what we do is write books, which sometimes are peer exercises or from a one point of view. But when a person is documented, then you really know the real person behind.
Yes.
Like today, you understand Rakesh's filmmaking much more better than somebody had written a book. We made this, did. It's so. I really hope this trend continues, and more documentaries are made on cinema grades and other great stories which are there.
What would you like to see? And what would you like to make? You don't have to answer the second one, but what
So
would you
there are
like to
many
see?
stories still which needs to be told in film industry. And since I am quite well connected here, and I know a lot of people, and I have lived my life with these people, I would like to make one or two. Yes,
What would you like to see on who? Like the Kapoors or um, there's so many.
suppose I think they're coming out with something. Uh,
Oh, right, Geeta did mention that there
yeah,
something is
so
cooking.
I don't
Yeah,
know. Yeah, but there are, like for example, Diol's
right.
Dharmender.
Dharminder, yes, yes,
Great,
yes.
great story. A man came from nowhere in Punjab, becomes a know sweetheart of billions and billions of people, and continues, and his legacy continues. Two sons and sons, bachon ke bache,
Yeah.
kids, everything. So I, great story, and
Uh,
again a common man story.
yes, yes, agreed. Who are some of your favorite directors? It doesn't have to be from India. It could be from Hollywood or anywhere else.
Many, I would say, since I've been a student of cinema, so yeah, I can go right from the beginning that Mehboob Khan, Asif, Guru Dutt, Raj Kapoor, to Ramesh Sippy,
Hmm.
to Rajkumar Hirani, Sanjay Leela Bhansali. There are many
Yeah.
different kind of storytelling, but yeah, all of them have excelled. So yeah, I since consume a lot of cinema, I can't just say yeah, only one or
Yeah,
two.
no, I get it. I get it. I get it. No, I was just curious about just few names because it is there one of the great one of so I grew up with Bollywood, if you want to call it Bollywood. And then from 2006 to 2015 I kind of stopped watching because I just felt that the stuff that was coming out, with the exception of few, or maybe I had outgrown them, I don't know, was way too mainstreamy and not for my liking. But then about 10 years ago, a lot of stuff kind of shifted. Like a lot of these, small villages movies started to come out, like ordinary people type stories, which are more appealing to watch. But I think now one of the things you talked about documentary, there was a documentary that came out that went to the Oscars from India. You must know about this, The Encounters by Vidhu Vinod Chopra. And this was in 1979, where he shot like people in the I think it was central Bombay and stuff. The kids' faces. And now I hope that not just these documentaries of people, not just necessarily in India in Bollywood, but even like issue-based documentaries, right? Like a lot of people in the West
Yes,
make a lot of
yes,
people
yes.
a lot. I watched one of my colleagues' documentaries just a few months ago, and she's working on another one. But stuff like that, I think that's also important because people will relate to that. There's a show by Amir Khan. What is it called? Where he talks to like ordinary
Satyam
people.
Jayate.
Yeah, I mean that connects to people at a deeper level. Like I've seen some clips of it,
No,
and
so
it just.
this is what exactly what short can show. So
Hmm.
we picked up various issues about society,
Hmm.
and we had the best of people talking about it, and became a rage in the country. And since Shatrughan Sinha was a huge star at that time, and he was the first film star to come onto television, yeah, and he was also politically and socially aware because later on he became a politician. So it was a good combo that both of us had the same similar kind of sensibilities, and sensitivity towards society and issues. So it worked big time.
When you make a, when anyone makes a film, I know this is true for me, and I'm sure this is true for you too. There's always something more than one thing that you learn about yourself when you talk to other people, especially in the documentary world, or even when you're making a narrative. It's an ongoing learning process. If you can maybe one or few things that you discovered about yourself while making the Roshans that you didn't know existed inside you.
See, my best education, Jawad, came from listening to some of the best people.
Mm,
Now, for example, in this documentary, Sanjay Leela Bhansali said a fantastic thing. He says when something becomes hit and very popular, it's like magic. वो जादू होता है
mm,
और जादू को जादू ही रहना देना चाहिए. उसका कुछ एनालिसिस होता नहीं, उस वक्त भी नहीं और आज भी नहीं. उसे छोड़
mm.
देना चाहिए. So I think it's a great line. Why it happens, why it becomes so successful, then you can, these are all bookish thing. You can keep on discussing, oh, so I this work, that work, but you do not know. Like for
Nobody knows what
example,
will
the
work.
kind of
Yeah.
love and affection and appreciation we are getting now. So everybody has their own interpretation. Some say आपने वो ये चीज की ना वो बहुत कमाल की थी. Now one thing which was not intentional at all, and I didn't even think that the role of women in their lives. There are hundreds of people who say the way you portrayed women in that was excellent. I didn't make a conscious effort. I was telling a story, and in that story, uh, you know, whatever role the women played, they played. But now that has become a talking point that, yeah, wow, the way you have looked at women is wonderful. So, when something is liked by people, then they have their own interpretations, they have their own visuals, so it's like that. I remember when I was in the institute, Satyajit Ray came to our institute once, and he was talking about a film which got many awards abroad. So he says in that film there was a shot, there's a very serious scene happens, gloomy scene happens in the house, and dimly lit road outside. I show and I stay the camera on the dimly lit light, and suddenly a dog just walks slowly, 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 looking absolutely sad and walks out of the frame. And he says, hundreds of people said, wow, how did you manage this? How did you manage this dog? He says, my production man was very lazy. He couldn't stop the fucking bloody dog. And he just walked into the frame. So, but when something is liked, then people find everything and they start interpreting it.
Yeah.
You don't understand what I'm saying?
No, no, I know for a fact that even for me, if I am really focused on something, I'm like, this is gonna be amazing. This emotion is gonna be amazing. And more than likely that might not get reaction from people that I had hoped. But then something else that I didn't even think was
Yeah,
going to do something, even as a scene or as a film. It just
yeah.
connects to people. So it's just like you said, magic. But what I was asking was forget about the film, but just about yourself. Like when you were like something you may have picked up by Rakesh Roshan or Ritik as as a quality or something, because we're always evolving every single day. That you felt
Yeah,
that
so from
was,
from Rakesh, I realize his discipline is excellent, and his doggedness is pretty irritating at times. But he is his doggedness about what he believes. He goes on and on and on and on and on and on. So I think there is some conviction.
amazing.
So, but his discipline in life for everything was amazing, and I think
Yeah,
that what he has used in his entire career and life, and it has worked well for him.
yeah. No, amazing, awesome. Would you ever want to do a narrative, like direct an actors, or you want to stick to documentaries, or you don't know?
No, I'm planning a web series, a
Okay.
fiction based on true incidents.
Amazing.
Also, you never know, I might direct a film if I
Of
find
course.
something very interesting. But I don't want to make a run of the mill kind of a story. I really want to do something which excites my mind.
You
I,
have to. You have to believe in it,
I
right? That's the
so
thing.
just for the heck of it, I don't want to do anything. I'm at a stage and age where I don't need to just do things for the heck of it.
Yeah, no, that's a good approach. Awesome. Great. Well, Sashi, it's been amazing. Thank you so much, man, for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
If there's
Jawad. Nice
any
talking to you,
pleasure's
and
all mine.
hope to see some of your documentaries soon. And
Yeah,
when you're in this part of the world, let's catch up. Or
absolutely. I'll
I am
be
in, or I am in Canada. Are you? Where are you based?
in Toronto, in Canada, Toronto,
In
Canada.
Toronto. Okay,
Yeah.
I have some friend in Toronto, so maybe I
Yeah,
bump into you there.
absolutely. Would
Nice
love to
talking to
have
you.
likewise, would love to have you on again in future and we'll communicate over WhatsApp. Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.